the more candidates we get, the more homes we reach, the more lives we'll save, and the more minds will be changed. It's that simple.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of About Abortion, a very special episode because we are joined today by Christian Hacking, a voice, a face familiar to people who follow this podcast. Indeed, probably a great deal more familiar than mine. It's been a while, Christian. You've been on this bar more than I have in recent weeks.
This is true. This is true. It's been a privilege to take your place over the recent weeks, and we've had a good time. And now I've invested in a smart microphone. It sounds like I am in the studio and you are not. So well, maybe the full takeover is complete. Welcome to the show, Dave. Welcome to the Brephos podcast.
Whose show is this? You turn around for 1 minute and now it's like you're the host on LBC and I'm the guy on his drive home from work sounding off, who is just he's lost before he's out of the blocks because of the sound quality.
This is the thing. The audio quality. I mean, everyone, even if you're making really concrete arguments on LBC, because of the kind of grainy nature of your call, you always sound like a nutter. I remember one time listening to a Tom Swarbrick show, and he was like debating about abortion. That's when I tend to tune into LBC, and they were saying, well, talking about Dee Krim and the kind of the tragic Carla Foster case and the death of Lily Foster. Anyway, some robust caller, some working lad called up and said, well, they're human beings too, Tom. And he was like, well, they're not human beings, clearly. He's like, yes, they are. He goes, but they're inside their mother's wombs. He's like, well, that doesn't make a difference. He was like, if you were in space, would you not be a human being? To which I was like, that's good apologetics. To which Tom was able to say in his crisp tones, I mean, space, what has that got to do with anything? Next caller, please. It's the kind of overcoming the canned audio. But I mean, one of these days when we've got enough numbers and enough time, I think we should set up a studio with just perfect, 8G Wi-Fi, all microphones, and we'll just keep calling up LBC, and we'll see if we can get more clarity than the DJs at LBC. So, and we'll see who's in the driving seat now. Yeah. We could even see if, I mean, that's the big thing. They can just dip your, if they don't like what you say, they just dip you, your volume. So anyway, exciting days ahead.
Yeah, it's a real ultrasonic microphones that make Nick Ferrari sound like a maniac on helium.
And you can hear him as well. Like Nick Ferrari's like, if you listen between tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. or whenever he starts, listen, you can literally hear him exhaling. I mean, it's quality sound. I mean, whoever's on the sound desk at LBC, hats off to you.
Well, we didn't mean to start this episode with an advert for LBC, but it's a good show. It's got lots going for it. But there's a reason you've invested not only in a microphone, but also I see a pot plant in the background. Things are looking up in the Hacking Home studio. But it's not because you've launched a party, is it? I just want to get that clear from the outset. You are not launching a party for the selection. Can you confirm that for us?
I can confirm this, that for those who've been following me, for beloved supporters who've been helping to fund me over the last 7 years, I am leaving CBR UK to launch not a party but a political project. And so for anyone who's wondering, I didn't have enough time to start a pro-life party due to Rishi's snap election decision. So we are instead running independent candidates under a single banner called Vote Life. And this, Dave, is going to be consuming my next month and a few days as we seek to make abortion a defining voting issue in the UK in less than 6 weeks.
Brilliant. Right, so you've got a busy 6 weeks ahead of you. So let's start with the nuts and bolts, if you don't mind. Let's start with what is actually going on with this campaign, how it all works and stuff. And I want to get pretty quickly to how people can get involved, because you are on the hunt, aren't you, for more candidates? And then I'd like us to step back a bit and think a bit more about why this is a good idea, why Christians in particular should care about this, and maybe even invest their one and only vote in one of these independents, if not stand themselves. So first off, people listening to this, who are you looking for? Who is eligible to actually join and stand? Because it's not too late, is it? It's not too late to stand.
So absolutely not. So so the Vote Life project, as distinct from party, is an initiative seeking to capitalize on the educational opportunities that the election brings. In particularly, the fact that in a general election, every single candidate that stands for a party or independently gets a free leaflet drop to every single house in their constituency via the Royal Mail. So we have an unique opportunity as pro-life advocates to get a image just like this one. Here's our draft flyer, Vote Life, 6-week living embryo that's dated from fertilization. We have that opportunity to get an image like this into 60 to 90,000 homes, depending on your constituency size, at a fraction of a cost that it will cost outside of electoral season. And even if this image lives but a few small seconds between mat and recycling bin, to see it, it has done its work, because it humanizes the baby and convicts the conscience. And then we can have oodles of facts on the back as well. So the purpose of Vote Life primarily is to really capitalize on this opportunity of a postal drop. Now, so we're looking for candidates who are willing to stand so that we can do this. But there's also secondary and tertiary aims. The secondary aim is to try to get those who have been harmed by the abortion industry to start seeking to represent them and to compensate them for their harms. We've got a slight kind of BBC situation here. My daughter has just joined the podcast.
Hello, no, nice to see you.
Yes, that does need a plaster. But please, can you ask Mummy to do it, because I'm on the middle of a podcast, please. There you have it. Special guest.
Look at that.
That's my way to stardom there. You know, become but have a social media meme on go viral because your daughter entered into an important conversation. Where was
it's
I?
all about what happens. It's all about what happens next, though. If that's going to compete with the BBC guy, your wife has to crawl in a few minutes later, trying to stay out of
trousers.
Yeah.
having just been caught, off guard. Bless her. That they recently had a 10-year anniversary, didn't they? I think you shared that article with me.
Oh, did
10 years since that moment.
So where were you?
Where was I? So so the secondary objective is to actually really start to put a wedge between women and the abortion industry. We know the abortion industry have never cared about women. They've certainly never cared about the babies in which they've killed. And we know that hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands, perhaps even millions of people have been harmed, be it psychologically or physically, from those procedures. And so one of our aims in effectively a mass postal send out is to try to encourage these women to share their stories, and perhaps even for the first time, and to start actually pushing for legal recognition and reparations for those harmed by the abortion industry in the UK. And then tertiary, our third aim is to, following the fact that abortion clearly kills a human being and therefore is morally wrong and cannot be justified, following the fact that abortion clearly harms women as well as the babies which it kills, thirdly, we want to do the next obvious thing, which is encourage vote migration away from any party that is not clearly standing against abortion, which currently, as we stand, is all the main political parties. Conservatives are silent on abortion. Labour, in their 2019 manifesto, want to decriminalise abortion. That means abortion up to birth. Think Carla Foster, on steroids. That will happen all the time. But the abortionists and will never get prosecuted for it. And then Lib Dems, Green are equally as bad. They're either supporting abortion or they're saying nothing about it, which in on moral grounds, to do nothing, to not speak is to speak in favor of it. So we're not actually gunning for votes for ourselves so much, but we will be encouraging wholesale vote migration to predominantly smaller parties who are clear on abortion. So parties like the Christian Parties Alliance, parties like the Scottish Family Party, parties like Heritage Party, who have all in various ways outlined desires to abolish abortion. And if you're listening into this podcast and you're part of another party that I haven't listed, and you are clearly against abortion and have policies to end or severely reduce abortion, then please get in touch and we'll see, we can have a conversation about it. But our we're not in this for ourselves. We're not in this to start a government. We're in this to make a supercharged moral case, and to get people to respond.
Thank you. So there's a kind of an educational purpose here, getting the images out and centering the unborn child, rehumanizing the unborn child. There's a kind of invitation to, in particular, women who've been harmed by the industry. And then there is, yes, we are trying to shift votes, not necessarily to the independent in question, but towards any pro-life candidate or party. And so, as you said, Vote Life is not a party, it's a campaign. So you are providing this. What are you providing? What's Vote Life giving to independent candidates who are standing ultimately in their own name? I'm right, yeah, they're not under any other banner. It will be, e.g., Dave Brennan for North Norwich or whatever. But what are you providing?
So it's a very good question. So effectively, I'm leaving, having left CBR UK on the 2nd of June. My final day is 1st of June. I'm effectively working as a electoral agent for free. And that means I will be helping independent candidates with their application process, and also helping them with fundraising for things like their deposit and the cost of printing leaflets. And I will also be helping to consolidate single message on the leaflets, but also we're recruiting two kinds of candidates. One is a paper candidate, so this is somebody who just wants to help get the postcard out, but isn't really that interested in being actively involved in the political process, the kind of door knocking, the hustings, media opportunities, etc. And then in-person candidates who will hopefully take to the highways and byways, social media, etc., and really make the case to double down on justifying why we're doing what we're doing. So my goal is to make sure the candidates are okay, and particularly to invest in the in-person candidates, so that our pro-life cases can be as powerful as possible, and so that we can make the most of every opportunity. For the days are evil. And really, I guess that's one of the many Bible verses I've gone to that has encouraged me in all of this, is making the most of every opportunity. That this is, I was going to say once in a lifetime opportunity, but unless you're planning to die in the next 5 years, then there will be more general elections. But general election is a unique opportunity that doesn't come around every year. And so it's a fantastic opportunity, and we'd really encourage people to go away, to think, to pray about it, and if they feel led, to go onto our website votelife.co.uk and sign our expression of interest form to become a candidate, because time is ticking. We really need to get our candidate list together by the end of the week, and people need to be submitting their nomination forms at their local borough by 4 p.m. on Friday the 7th of June. So we've really got 1 week to seal the deal here. And The more candidates we get, the more homes we reach, the more lives we'll save, and the more minds will be changed. It's that simple.
And are there any criteria, eligibility in terms of who can be a candidate? Who, people listening in, could it be them? Any reason it couldn't be them?
The eligibility to be a candidate is you have to be over the age of 18. You have to be a UK citizen or a member of the Commonwealth. And you also couldn't have done a stint in jail, uh, a long stint in jail, that is, because I did 8 hours in jail, so I'm not disqualified. So I've got so if you've done a long stint in jail or if you're currently undergoing bankruptcy, you can't be a candidate. But if you don't fall into any of those categories, then you can be a candidate, and you can also, you don't need to have any experience in politics in order to be an independent candidate and for us to work with you. You can also be a member of another political party simultaneously. So you can be a member of the Labour Party or the Conservative Party or the Lib Dems. That's not an issue. In fact, to have members of other parties coming with us to make the case for life will form part of the unique pressure groups that we need to start creating in each of these parties to get them serious about the abolition of
Mm.
abortion.
Mm. So it's obviously not a single issue party because it's not a party, but there's a sort of single issue, yeah, thrust, single issue project, and I suppose I'm thinking back to the Brexit Party, which whether people like the outcome of Brexit or not, there was something about the single issueness of the Brexit Party, which I think was very effective, and it was clear that there was that deal, wasn't there, where am I right? Correct me if my memory serves me wrong, but wherever there was a conservative um, candidate likely to win, the Brexit Party withdrew because by then the Conservatives had committed to Brexit. They weren't trying to get votes for themselves as a party, but they were trying to make sure the issue got more airtime, and ultimately the issue won the day. Is that a fair analogy for what you're
Yeah, I mean,
trying to do?
like him or lump him, Farage is a brilliant political strategist, and he has been one of the most influential politicians, be it a non-elected one in the UK Parliament in the last generation. And I think yes, there's very much facets of our strategy are a Brexit. It's a kind of UKIP Brexit style single issue, um, you know, project, which may, God willing, become a party after this election. And really, what we're trying to do is become a policy orphanage. Which is you start by when if people vote for Vote Life, they're effectively voting saying that the policies that this party project, sorry, the the it's like a tongue twister. The policies of this project that stand for are so important to me that I'm actually foregoing
Mm,
my vote with another party just to draw attention to their policy. Because actually, if we start accruing hundreds of thousands or millions of votes based on legislation that seeks to end the shedding of innocent blood in this nation, then whoever the whichever party wants to be in power will have to persuade us to get on side, or they will have to adopt our policy. Hence the policy orphanage analogy. So really, that's the direction of travel that I believe the church and all evangelicals need to be getting on as soon as possible, because I don't think there is a morally cogent argument to say I'm going to give my vote to a party that is silent or in support of the genocide of 10 million unborn babies since 1967. And that's not my
mm,
question. That's actually a question that Richard Lucas from the Scottish Family Party um, posed, and it's just stuck with me. It's such a good question, which is, before voting day, can we as Christians look ourselves in the mirror and say, I'm about to give my vote to a party that supports the intentional killing of
mm,
250,000 unborn babies a year or 10 million unborn babies since 1967? No, that is such a simple answer, and this is the kind of question that.
mm. Well, let's focus a bit more on that, if we may, Christian, because on voting day, the average person is going to be faced with what, four, five, maybe six options. They can only pick one. Um, okay, okay. I'm out in sticks here. We're quite we're not so developed as that. Um, so why of all the issues should someone spend their one and only vote on this to the point of obviously they are then um, deciding not to influence necessarily at that tactical level who is going to win locally because you know in all likelihood whoever won last time is quite likely to win this time. You know, one of the major parties is by far the most likely. So why sort of jettison your vote on this one issue? Why this issue of all issues? I mean, those who follow this podcast will have heard us discussing the recent research by the Evangelical Alliance, looking at how evangelicals are planning to vote and what their priorities would be, and and both in terms of what people said they would their vote on and what's being talked about in church. Well, abortion's really low down on that list of issues. Indeed, 14% of respondents said they would actually be less likely to vote for a party pledging to reduce the abortion 4 weeks, let alone abolish it. So, Christian, can you make the case why this issue of all issues? Why should this be the defining issue for the evangelical vote?
Well, I think it's the defining issue because it's the canary in the mine, which is, you know, if you're looking to, you know, your mining equipment, or if you're looking to the lamps, or if you're looking to the health of your fellow miners, you could miss the fact that the environment inside the mine is deadly and, you know, catastrophic, right? And that's the point. If we are denying the humanity of human beings in the womb and killing them on a genocidal scale, then really all other policies, no matter how well intentioned or no matter how Christian they look outwardly, are clearly sitting on a very dubious foundation, and it's only a matter of time before those nauseous gases that are dehumanizing and destroying the smallest and most vulnerable amongst us just start consuming the rest. And I think that's the issue. And ironically, it was my mum, who's not a Christian, who first said this. You know, it's like she had this. It was late at night. We're in the Isle of Wight. It was kind of dark, and I was talking about why abortion. You know, that if you understand the abortion issue, you kind of understand all issues. And it is the start. It's the first issue. And she was the one who said, "Well, it's the canary in the mine." And so if unbelievers who are not necessarily in support of my views and my campaign or my faith can see this clearly, then the church has to. And so I think that's the, you know, and you can add to this or underpin all of this with just strong biblical arguments that God hates the shedding of innocent blood. As you said, he hates child sacrifice, and as you've also said, it's like God's two things that God hates are being brought into one, which is child sacrifice. It's the shedding of the blood of innocent children. And in the Old Testament, this stuff was not only, you know, Jeremiah 7, that which I did not conceive, that which did not even enter into my head in its wickedness, but he also abhorred his inheritance. I think that's maybe Psalm 106. It made God, you know, abhor what he had made, that we would stoop so low, that we would take, you know, that which is being fearfully and wonderfully made, fashioned into the likeness of God, and destroy it because we're frightened, or because you know, that human being is getting in the way of our plans, or, you know, has been conceived in circumstances that, you know, we didn't desire or want, or even in the worst, you know, scenarios such as rape, you know, it's still an unborn baby made in the image of God. So we've got to get back to foundations, and so long as we start, you know, basing our vote on issues that really are so secondary compared to, you know, the shedding of innocent blood, you know, we're just dressing up stinging nettles. You know, we're not We're changing batteries, in our lamps down the mine when the canary's already dead. And so this is why we have to make this argument, and we have to start, um, you know, either withholding our vote or giving our vote to parties that and candidates that we know will defend life.
Mm. Thank you. That's helpful. I think it's so important, isn't it, to bring our instincts and our reactions and our convictions um, into conformity with God's convictions, if I can use that word. Um, there's a kind of natural revulsion that your average voter, whether Christian or not Christian, would have at the idea of fly tipping. Um, there's a revulsion that some, including Christian, would have at certain immigration policies and so on. But the question is, when it comes to this issue, is our revulsion or lack thereof in line with the living God as revealed through Scripture? Because, as you say, he finds child sacrifice, as it were, unthinkable. Um, it, it causes him to abhor his own inheritance. Um, it's not the only issue that really incurs his wrath, but it's one of the key ones. And in that sense, I think we can safely say, because as it's been said by someone else, that there's nothing unchristlike in God. The fullness of God is revealed to us in Christ. I can happily say and confidently say, if Jesus were casting his vote in Great Britain um, this year, 2024, that he would not be willing to put his support behind the deliberate, committed, ongoing shedding of innocent blood. Jesus loves children. He loves children. He hates child abuse. Um, and and yet, the average Christian, as shown through this Evangelical Alliance research, it just seems oblivious, really, to the severity of this issue. So I think we really have to prayerfully come before the Lord and say, okay, there are certain issues that really get me going, but are they the same ones as get the Lord going? And there are issues that weigh more heavily in Scripture and less heavily. How you treat your animal is somewhat important, but you can only find a very small handful of references to that in the whole of Scripture. The shedding of innocent blood, I mean, you start seeing it almost on every page. The Lord really cares about that because we're made in his image. So yeah, this issue really should weigh heavily on the Christian conscience, and indeed of anyone's conscience, because it is that serious. So tell me, Christian, what's your big dream then? Obviously God can do anything, but what would you like to see happen as a result of this project? Where would you like to see things come election day? Where would you like to see things after election day? What's the bigger picture here?
Well, thank you. Well, just to come back to what you said, I remember I gave a talk at a church recently, and it was shortly after that poor boy had been murdered in yet another knife crime, attack. I think it was in North London. And London's got 9 million people in, but when you hear these knife crime things, it just makes you shudder. It's that one life taken by violence, sometimes randomly, totally unprovoked. And then I did some Googling. It was kind of 200, I think it was 200 knife fatalities in the last year, right? Which is obviously horrendous, and I don't want to take away from that any moment for a moment. But if we consider that for every victim of a knife crime, there's and let me do my maths here, 200,000. So 200 into 200,000, is that 1,000
Mm-hmm.
deaths?
Hmm.
by abortion, and it just doesn't have the same response. It's like
Mm.
it doesn't have the same response on our sods. It's just another Department of
Mm.
Health spreadsheet.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just another process, right? And I think we as a church need to start to um, mourn
Yeah.
this loss, like we would these other tragic losses. Because if it's a human being and they are equally valuable in God's eyes, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's one of to answer your first question. The reason why we're posing this question is because we really want to help catalyze the breaking of the heart of the UK church.
Yeah.
It's we're
Yeah.
just the UK church is not heartbroken about this, and when I think about my particular campaign, I'm not sure entirely where I'm going to stand just yet. I'm waiting to hear back from a few people as to who wants to stand in my area, but one of our desires is to gather the church and to ask the question, well, how should Christians vote? And to show local Christians what an abortion really looks like, so that
Mm.
people can start addressing the gravity of it. Because I think simply that the church, um, even if theoretically they kind of concede that it's a human being, they just don't, they don't understand what a big deal this
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
So I think that's my first goal. It would be
Yeah.
just to help the evangelical church to get out of bed on this, and to start to see their heart breaking in a good way for these babies, and for the state of the nation in terms of what we do to them.